Hey, Blake T. Wild here, and I have a problem with the sequel trilogy. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh no, a white guy with a beard and a bunch of Star Wars crap behind him has some hot takes about Star Wars. This is gonna get bad very quickly. I love Star Wars. I always have. I always will. So, back when the sequel trilogy was announced, I was so excited to finally be able to go to the theaters and see a Star Wars film on the big screen. Not that I couldn't go and see the prequels when they were in cinemas, I just didn't really go to movie theaters when those were coming out, so I was always watching them on DVD. Overall, I do enjoy the sequel trilogy. Yeah, that's right, all three of them. It just made the end of the year feel that much more special, and ever since then, I've made the end of the year Star Wars time! So I'll rewatch all the movies, I'll play my favorite Star Wars games, I'll re-listen to every episode of my favorite Star Wars podcast, Star Wars in Character. Yes, the sequel trilogy does have its problems, but that's why I made fan edits to turn those movies into films that I personally enjoy. I will never have a problem with more Star Wars. But my love of Star Wars isn't what I'm talking about. I'm talking about my hatred of Star Wars, my biggest problem that I have with the sequels. And what is my biggest problem with the sequels? It's not the rehash of storylines, it's not the fact that Rey's a woman, it's not the Porgs, it's not that Palpatine came back, and they announced how he came back in Fortnite, and he has that weird Sith cult with the red stormtroopers that look like their armor's made of sinew. It's not that Luke milks a weird manatee elephant, and it looks Rey right in the eyes. It's the costume changes, or lack thereof. Here are the three protagonists of the sequel trilogy, and their very unchanging costumes. Rey being the worst offender of this trend. Here are the three protagonists of the original trilogy. Han Solo being the worst, but at least that's justified since he was frozen in carbonite. I think this problem that I have with the costumes of the characters stems from the fact that The Last Jedi occurs literally minutes after The Force Awakens. Unlike the prequels and the original trilogy, there's just no time jump in the sequels, aside from The Last Jedi to The Rise of Skywalker, and how long is that? Do they ever say? Is it a year? Is it 6 months? So there's no time for the characters to evolve. Take a look at Leia. Leia's costume design is just by far the best of all of Star Wars. Maybe Padme's just because of how intricate and ornate her costumes are, but those are really for show. Leia's actually says something about her character arc. It just truly shows the progression of her course over these films and the, 4 or 5 years that the original trilogy takes place? It's probably closer to 4, I think. Even the shape and her silhouette just exude who and what her character is. The first costume flows and cascades in a never-ending brilliant white that is just far more decorative than it is functional. It's fit for a princess. We see her personality through what she wears. Her outfit at the beginning of Empire Strikes Back is an excellent continuation of her outfit from A New Hope. While it's still all white, it's a combative uniform for a military leader. And then once the gang arrives at Cloud City on Bespin, the colors begin breaking away. The white is now mostly minimal, relegated to a cracked shell of her clothing, and the ferocity of crimson floods through everything that she's wearing, from her shoes to her earrings. Carrie Fisher's Leia costume for Return of the Jedi combines aspects of Han's with the form-fitting, almost working-class attire, and that classic Corellian stripe going down the leg, and a bit of Luke's pilot jumpsuit from Empire, while also remaining feminine and befitting for a military leader. In the case of Luke, in the first 2 films, he's a novice and adept, respectively. By Return of the Jedi, he's very skilled, and there's the possibility that he could fall to the dark side. Luke has an all-black suit for the film to subconsciously make the audience worry for his veritable soul, and during his final clash with Vader, the double-breasted lining opens up to reveal a bright glimmer of white inside, showcasing that there is, in fact, good in him. And although he displays methods that may be unbecoming of a Jedi, he is still an altruistic figure. It's a small and barely noticeable, almost insignificant thing that is so impactful to who Luke is. Luke's costume shift from the innocence and purity of white to the dulling grays as he learns more about the universe he inhabits and himself and his lineage, and finally the darkness of someone who could fall to the dark side, is one of the most poignant in all of Star Wars. It's a sudden and almost shocking revelation to the audience when we first see Luke in Return of the Jedi. He's clad in all black, he's wearing a large hood, we can't see his face, it obscures it completely, and it signifies mental and emotional changes that we ourselves have not seen and are not outright told what he has experienced within the intervening year between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Like his sister Leia, we see Luke's journey from relative naivete to experienced maturity, not only in the way that he carries himself as the films progress, but also the manner of his dress. His first outfit is flimsy, lightweight, wavy, and billows wonderfully in the sheltered life of his aunt and uncle. The final costume is harsh, dark, defined lines and makings of an almost uniform. In terms of iconography, the most recognizable things from Star Wars are Darth Vader's helmet and Leia's buns. What's the most iconic piece of imagery of the characters from the sequel trilogy? Is it Rey and her 3 rings of hair? Finn, because he's black? Poe's great hair? That droid in his red arm? Oh hey, that's C-3PO! The sequel trilogy characters just simply do not have the same level of character evolution in their costumes that their predecessors did. Even the most basic, surface-level analyzation of these costumes can be summed up as: Rey's tough, but also has a soft side. Finn was a stormtrooper who got a haircut and a vest. Poe has a scarf now. And they act like the same characters that we first met in The Force Awakens and we said goodbye to at the end of Rise of Skywalker. You don't want that for your storytelling. You don't want someone to stay here and just take a completely flat line to the end. You want to see the rigors that they go through. Sure, Rey goes from, oh, my parents are nobody, to my parents are a clone of Darth Sidious. It's impactful, but at the same time, it's empty. But let's look further into Rey's costume evolution, if you can call it that. She gets rid of the wrapping sleeves and keeps the exact same boots that she had on Jakku. Just kidding, those aren't the same boots that she had on Jakku, but they sure look a lot like them, don't they? I bet I got you there. Because every one of her costumes is the exact same, but with different colors. At least in Last Jedi, which I personally believe is definitively her best look, they gave her an interesting color palette and a fucking vest. Hell, even the prequels, which everybody loves to shit on, had a far better costume evolution. Anakin's being the most obvious. In The Phantom Menace, he's wearing raggedy slave clothes, tan and dirt encrusted, fitting for a street urchin child who's owned by a weird flying bug man on a backwater Dust Bowl planet that's just filled with nothing but despair. In Attack of the Clones, he has a traditional Jedi outfit, but it's far darker in color when compared to all the other members of the Order. Finally, in Revenge of the Sith, we see him in dark brown and black as he continues to grow more and more into the role of Darth Vader, and eventually succumbs to the dark side. But with all this prequel talk, I'm sure there's some people wondering, but what's the point of Padme's mid-drift in Attack of the Clones? In the most brutally honest way I can put this, that is selling sex, because Natalie Portman is gorgeous. But it also makes sense and is coherent with what is happening in the plot. Padme's outfit in the last third of Attack of the Clones shifts her character from her senatorial ambassador-on-the-run duties to that of a true fighter in the upcoming galactic war. The tear could have been anywhere, but that's a hot place to have a woman have a torn piece of clothing, and it was the very early 2000s, and mid-drifts were all the rage. It just works also from a design standpoint because she has a lot more physicality and physical active endeavors that she has to take place in during the arena fight. She's doing all those fucking acrobatics on that pillar, she's fighting a giant lizard lion snake thing. She's fucking riding a space rhino, shooting robots and shit. She fucking falls out of a plane. She has to do a lot, so it makes sense, I guess, to make it, less restrictive. Because it's already pretty goddamn tight clothing to begin with. But, it is tight clothing because it's sexploitative. Which is a smart move, because the majority of Star Wars fans are either boys or men who have grown up to hate women or anybody else because they cannot use the excuse that being a nerd who likes Star Wars was the reason that no one liked him growing up. Costume design is one of the most important aspects of movie making and storytelling. Endless hours are just put into the creation of what each individual characters are going to wear and what it should mean. Everything from the forms to the function to the colors have been thought out, and there's been significant effort put into it. Or at least there should be. There should be and needs to be a reason why characters wear what they wear. Good costume design does what the script shouldn't and couldn't. It provides character traits, feelings, and thoughts far more subtle and in-depth than any piece of dialogue can ever give you. The costume is part of the character. It's who they are. It's not something that you should just pass aside in favor of, look at these cool aliens. They're all puppets, not CGI like you all hated before. The best costume designs are the ones that look great and are able to reflect actual changes occurring in the characters. Unfortunately, the evolution of costumes in the sequel trilogy just falls completely flat and is wholly devoid of any true growth or reflection of where Rey, Finn, and Poe came from and where they are now. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more. Let me know what your thoughts are on the sequel trilogy. Oh god, that's just inviting a bunch of trouble, isn't it? Oh, this'll be fun to deal with. Yeah, what are your thoughts on the sequel trilogy costumes? Do you hate them as much as I do? Probably not. Maybe you do. Who's to say? Let me know in the comments below. Also, check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Smokey'sVideos, where you can get access to early releases when available. All my comics I am serializing on there each week. I also have 3 movie-related podcast audio commentary things. One is Marvel Rewind, the other is DC Rewind. I am revisiting the MCU and the DCEU, aka the Snyderverse. And much, much more. I have original art commissions, releases, stuff like that, behind the scenes of my comics that I'm working on, the Custodians, all 6 issues. As I'm working on them, I release, little stuff here and there. So check it out. Follow me online at NotBlakeWild. And check out my Etsy shop if you want to check out Destructo Boy issues 1 through 5 in the physical release. Currently, the Custodians just sold out at the time of recording, so stick around for that second print run, baby. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it opened your eyes into thinking more about the sequel trilogy and the art of storytelling and what it should mean for characters such as this. I'll see you next time. May the Force be with you. Bye.